Welcome back to the Joust About Careers podcast, where you can learn about careers from the people who are actually in the trenches every day. I'm your host, Bratt, and I want to see all people make good career and life decisions. This week's highlights feature Noah Schumacker, who has worked in sales and now owns Noah's Ark Boat Wash. The highlights focus on the various aspects of sales, what personal characteristics can lead to success in business, and Noah's advice about life and careers. If you like what you hear from Noah and want to learn more about his career journey, you can always watch or listen to the full interview. And if you find this podcast useful, please share it with someone else who could benefit from it. Enjoy the show, and I'll see you back here next week for the next new episode.
What exactly that means is essentially I was wholesaling building material products as well as exterior doors. So we had 75 different manufacturer lines. So I usually like to say I was the guy who helped make your house look pretty. I sold everything from the roof, from the flooring in your house, the cabinets, the decking, your exterior door, like I mentioned, the windows, we covered it all. So I was essentially calling on different lumber yards, and that could be anywhere from a big box account like a Lowe's or a Home Depot, or even like an Ace Hardware, to your individual lumber yards. Sales isn't just the misconception of the used car salesperson. That's probably the least amount of sales, that actually goes on. Sales is a larger, deeper topic that I think everybody should, learn to do at some point in their life. So that first apprenticeship or internship, it was really kind of a leap of faith. I pretty much just, had a conversation with myself. I said, well, I don't have anything else better to do this summer. Why not get better? I really didn't know what I was getting into at first, because a lot of times with the door-to-door world, it can be hyped up a little bit more than you might realize. Promise you'll hit these numbers, but in reality, once you get down there and you knock on someone's door who just did a 9 to 5, they don't want to talk to some college kid pushing pest control at all. So as you mentioned, I had quite a bit of rejection. I would say my rejection rate could have been, because I did do the math. I do have a whole slide about it. It was 99%. And I say 99% just because even if I would knock a door and say no one answered, I took that as a no. So when I did that calculation, now if I actually got to talk to them, my closing rate was a lot better. It's at 33%. So 1 out of every 3 people I was able to sell once I actually got some face-to-face time. But yeah, I learned a lot of things about myself that year, more than anything. I think that internship, I think everyone should do door-to-door pest control, or just door-to-door sales in general, because you can really see what you're made of. And I think if you get past, the no's and you just keep moving forward, it says a lot about yourself. But more importantly, you can learn how to get over it. Because at first I didn't know. I mean, going over there at some points, Brian, I was just like, what the heck am I doing in, Duluth, Georgia right now, far away from home? I'm scared to death. I'm a 19-year-old kid at this point. So it was kind of, question yourself here and there, but I stuck to it. And I think, what I learned more than anything is that being told no or failing is the best thing you can do in life, because essentially you just learn and learn and learn from it till the point you can make that first sale, to the point you can get that interview or get that job position. So I think it says a lot if you're able to get, down there and do that. And that's what I really loved about that job, because it showed what I can do if I just don't give up. To Sell is to Be Human by Daniel Pink. He actually breaks that down. And essentially, if you looked at the introverts and the extroverts were only a little bit above. It was the people who could be able to balance both of those personalities that made the most. Now, when it comes to sales skills, it's one of those things where anybody can learn. And I actually feel like if you have that humility, the more humility you have, the better salesperson you'll be, because you'll be able to actually listen and learn. sometimes with extroverts, you might actually run into that block because being so extroverted and spouting your own opinion all the time, there's not a lot of time to actually listen. So I would have to say sometimes it could bite you in the butt. And I've seen some great extroverts not be able to do sales. And I've seen some introverts be able to learn the skills because they had that humility and absolutely kill it. High school was probably like the lowest part of a relationship, but just even recognizing, Anthony's a stud of a person. He's an athlete, but just growing more of in a relationship to people who aspire you. I'd say that that's the biggest thing in life is, making friends with people who you should make friends with.
Right.
And just having that connection, I'm very, very thankful for it. But no, yeah, I'd say in college it started to grow and I knew what he was doing, followed him on everything. And I said, well, this kind of makes sense to do in Michigan. I think the ability, and I like to say chop it up, but essentially it's networking to be able to, you don't have to be good at talking to everybody. I make awkward conversations all the time, but at least the effort, the ability to give effort to be able to try to talk to as much, people as possible. Like that first AMA meeting I mentioned, I didn't know a single thing, but all I knew is I could talk to people, I could learn. So just being able to force yourself out of your comfort zone and talk to people is massive. Being able to force yourself out of your comfort zone in general, but I'd say networking, humility, because that perspective, you got to be able in sales, not look at things from your side, but from your clientele's or your partners or your customer side. So that humility and perspective is massive in sales. As well, you got to be a master of your product. If you really want to be good at sales, you got to be a master of what you know. I see a lot of actual engineers through my internships or through my networking or my interviews. A lot of engineers will actually end up as salespeople because they know the product so well, because they help either you develop or create the product, and they are the only ones that can actually sell it in the way that needs to be sold. And that's through consultative-like questions to be able to create value for that customer in the most, effective way. You just can't be afraid to fail. Essentially, just being able to take failures as learning opportunities. Don't look them as failures. Biggest roadblock, Brian, the biggest roadblock is yourself. It's your own brain. It's truly an emotional, mental battle with yourself all the time. And that's the biggest roadblock. And that's the biggest thing getting out of college is even outside of sales is the biggest roadblock you can have in your whole entire life is just yourself. And once you figure that out, once you can have those honest conversations with yourself and not maybe blame someone else or, make excuses. I think that's the biggest roadblock I had for myself because I still get in my own life. I'd say looking back now, I would have followed my dreams right away out of high school versus think I'm making the right decision. Follow your dreams right away versus going down the route that you think is best. Because there's a distinct, difference. I went down the college route that I thought was best, which worked out great for me. Mm-hmm. But if I was true to myself, I probably would have gone into an entrepreneurship role, create my own business, probably right out of high school, or spend a year traveling the world and then go into entrepreneurship. Right. I'd say high schoolers, seniors, realize what your dream is. Don't let anyone tell you you can't do it. Listen to yourself. If it's your passion, give it a shot out of high school. What's the worst thing you can do? Waste, 1 year. That's at least you gave it a shot. Right. You won't go 4 years through college thinking, I should have tried that out of high school. And I'd say that with anybody. Don't just follow your dreams. Don't let anyone else tell you what your dreams are or what they think of your dreams. Just realize, your own belief system is enough.
Thank you for making the Joust About Careers podcast part of your day. I hope you learned valuable information from this career story. And to be sure you don't miss upcoming episodes, please click subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform so you'll know when the next episode is released. Thank you for spending a portion of your day with me. And as always, come back next week to learn even more just about careers.